Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? September 12, 2024, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live with the Black Star Network. The Oklahoma Supreme Court denies a request to reconsider the Tulsa Race Massacre lawsuit dismissal. We'll talk with the attorney for the last living survivors. Vice President Kamala Harris back on the campaign trail. She was in Charlotte today, and whiny-ass Donald Trump says there ain't not gonna be a debate. She whooped my ass, so I ain't doing that again. Caitlin Clark, oh Lord, these white folks are mad at her. We tried to tell y'all it wasn't all about basketball while these white folks were supporting Caitlin Clark. They're mad because she liked Taylor Swift's post endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris. And if y'all want to see and hear an absolute deranged ass, crazy, unhinged white woman, wait until we show you how Megyn Kelly responded to Taylor Swift endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris. The Black Man Lab and New Georgia Project launches the Black Man Tour. We'll talk with the chair of the New Georgia Project right here on the show. Plus, we'll tell you why a Georgia judge dropped 2 counts against Donald Trump in the Georgia election probe. But the attorney, John Eastman, yeah, he ain't out of trouble. We'll tell you about that as well. Plus, new campaign here from the Harris campaign as well. A lot to talk about, including these racist white folks in Springfield, Ohio, continue to target Haitians to the point where the Haitian families are keeping their kids at home because they're scared for their safety. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
All right, folks, Oklahoma Supreme Court rejected the request from the last 2 survivors of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre to reconsider their decision to uphold the dismissal of the lawsuit. In June, the state's highest court ruled against 110-year-old Viola Fletcher and 109-year-old Leslie Benningfield Randall, upholding a decision by a Tulsa District Court judge to dismiss the case. The survivors filed a public nuisance claim saying they, quote, continue to face racially disparate treatment and city-created barriers to basic human needs. The attorney and founder of Justice for Greenwood, Damario Solomon-Simmons, joins me right now. So, Damario, the question people are asking is this it? Is there anywhere else for y'all to go?
Yeah, thank you, Roland. Good to see you as always. Appreciate you. Listen, this is a very disappointing decision for the Supreme Court, Oklahoma Supreme Court, to deny this particular case. And that means after 4 years of litigation, this particular case is now over with. That is devastating news for the survivors. But the good news is that we do have other legal avenues, and we're going to continue to fight. The fight continues. And I can tell you, I can speak for 110-year-old Viola Ford Fletcher and 109-year-old Leslie Benningfield Randall, that they said they're still going to continue to push because they still want to see justice in their lifetime.
Gotcha. I'm going to do this here, folks. We got a slight technical problem. We're going to go to a quick break. We're going to come back on the show, okay? We'll be right back. Okay.
He told us who he was.
Should abortion be punished? There has to be some form of punishment.
Then he showed us.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it, and I'm proud to have done it.
Now Donald Trump wants to go further with plans to restrict birth control, ban abortion nationwide, even monitor women's pregnancies. We know who Donald Trump is. He'll take control. We'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
IVF is a miracle for us because it allowed us to have our family. After having my daughter, I wanted more children, but my embryo transfer was canceled 8 days before the procedure. Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade stopped us from growing the family that we wanted. I don't want politicians telling me how or when I can have a baby. We need a president that will protect our rights, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on. America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts themselves over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
And the nation's highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is a danger to our troops and our democracy. We can't let him lead our country again.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
The overturning of Roe almost killed me. I had a blood clot in my uterus that caused my labor to have to be induced because of the overturn of Roe v. Wade. I wasn't able to get life-saving treatment sooner. I almost died. And that's because of the decision that Donald Trump made.
I was able to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I'm proud to have done it.
The doctors and nurses were afraid that if they treated me in the incorrect way, that they would be prosecuted for that. And that's appalling. Donald Trump says that women should be punished.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? There has to be some form of punishment. For the woman? Yeah.
I believe that women should have reproductive freedom to make the choices about their own bodies. 4 more years of Donald Trump means that women's rights will continue to be taken away one by one by one by one. This has to stop because women are dying.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Hi, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Fanbase is a free-to-download, free-to-use, next-generation social media platform that allows anyone to have followers and subscribers on the same page. Fanbase was built through investment dollars from equity crowdfunding from the Jobs Act. People just like you help build Fanbase, and we're looking for more people to help build Fanbase. We are currently raising $17 million in a Regulation A crowdfund on Start Engine. We've already crossed $2.1 million, but we're looking to raise more capital from people just like you that deserve the opportunity to invest in early-stage startups without having to be accredited investors. So right now, I'd like you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase right now, today. And then use Fanbase to connect with friends, grow your audience, and be you without limits.
Mitchell, a news anchor at Fox 5 DC.
Hey, what's up? It's Tammy Roman, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, technical issues fixed. Let's get back to our conversation with Damario Solomon-Simmons. You were saying that you have other options.
Yeah, this definitely is a disappointing decision for the Supreme Court to unjustly deny these 2 last living survivors an opportunity in court on this particular case. but they are resolute. They want to continue to fight even at 110 and 109. We do have another legal pathway that we are exploring to make viable. And this is also, as you know, Roland, and many people that's been following this work, we've been calling on the Biden-Harris administration for 4 years, almost 4 years now, to open an investigation between the DOJ, Emmett Till Cold Case Act. We need them more than ever. So I need everyone that's listening today to contact the Biden-Harris administration, President Biden and AG Merrick Garland, and explain and ask that they open this investigation. More than ever, we need them to open this investigation with this disappointing news today.
Explain to folks the Emmett Till Cold Case Act. Because that was a bill that pursued by Senator Doug Jones.
Well, actually, the Emmett Till Civil Rights is actually the Civil Rights Cold Case Act. It was actually introduced in 2007. It was passed signed into law in 2008. It was reauthorized in 2016. And this particular law allows the Department of Justice to open a criminal investigation to civil rights crimes that occurred between 1920 and 1970. And the primary purpose of the act is not even convictions, Roland, but it's to investigate and to provide answers that have been long hidden by authorities that conducted or perpetrated these particular crimes. And so this is what we have here. The massacre happened in 1921. We still know about 10% about what actually happened. We still don't know all of the perpetrators. We still don't even know all the victims of the massacre. And we need the Department of Justice to open this investigation. Roland, do you know that the massacre is the largest crime scene in U.S. history, modern U.S. history, and has never been investigated by any level of government?
Now, go to my iPad. This is a part of the DOJ. So, is the pressure should be put on Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, because he's the AG. Right. He could actually tell the Civil Rights Division to launch this.
Yeah, absolutely. Merrick Garland is who we need to act here. When we've had several meetings with our good friend Kristen Clark, who is the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights. She's a friend of civil rights. I believe she's a supporter of Justice for Greenwood and these survivors, but it's not her call. We need the AG, Merrick Garland, to make the call to open this investigation. And again, Roland, we're not asking for them to do something special or extraordinary. We're asking them to utilize the law that is right there that they can actually use.
And again, folks, if you go to my iPad, it says in 2006, the FBI began its Cold Case Initiative, a comprehensive effort to identify and investigate racially motivated murders committed decades ago. Pursuant to the initiative, the department, I mean the DOJ and the FBI are working together to address violations of criminal civil rights statutes resulting in death that occurred not later than December 31st, 1979. Toward that end, each of the 56 FBI field offices searched their cold case files to identify incidents which might be ripe for investigation. Since February 2007, the FBI and the division have partnered with the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, Southern Poverty Law Center, and the National Urban League to identify additional cases for investigation and to solicit their help. I mean, certainly, this is certainly a case where murder took place.
Murders took place. We know of hundreds of murders that took place. In fact, we know over 3,000 people were disappeared. We don't know what happened to them. We just know that they were in Tulsa, living their lives on May 30th, 1921, and on May 31st and June 1st, 1921. No one ever heard from them again. And Roland, as you know, we actually met with the DOJ, the two survivors, Uncle Red, who's now deceased, and Mother Fletcher, his sister, back in May of 2023, over a year ago. We met with them. We talked with the DOJ. They said they were going to get back with us, and we're still waiting, and time is of the essence. We need Merrick Garland and the Department of Justice to act today. And so all of you could go to justiceforgreenwood.org, our website, justiceforgreenwood.org. We have a link there where you could sign in and send a note, a sign-out petition. We're going to be delivering those petitions and those signatures to the DOJ along with postcards from around this nation. We need them to act now.
My panel today, folks joining us right now, Dr. Ming-Young Guy, Associate Professor, Department of Family Medicine and Population Health, Virginia Commonwealth University, Dr. Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies, Howard University. Ming-Young, your question first.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I wanted to ask you, and thank you for continuing on this work. This is incredibly important work, but I think it's important for the audience to know why is time of the essence? It sounds to me that the federal government is running out the clock, so to speak, because don't you have to have survivors of this massacre in order to have standing, or is that not the case? How does that come into play? Because these individuals are older, right? And is time of the essence simply because of the fact that they need to be existing in order to have standing, and so we have to get ourselves together and push now? Is that what it is?
Well, thank you for the question. Well, I get the time is of the essence for a few reasons. Number one, our client, Mother Fletcher, is 110 years old. Mother Randall, Leslie Benefit Randall, is 109. She'd be 110 on November 10th. And so time is of the essence because just like every other of the thousands and thousands and thousands of individual black folks that suffered the massacre who died without any form of justice, we do not want that to happen to them. So that's number one. Number two, you think about for 103 years, we've been trying to get justice for what happened in Tulsa and what happened to our community collectively. Tulsa, the massacre is not just about what happened to the black people in Tulsa, but it's about how it destroyed our development as a people throughout this entire nation. Number three, time is of the essence because we do not know what's going to happen in November. We're all supporting the Vice President Kamala Harris. She should win. She's the most qualified person to ever run for the presidency, in fact. But we don't know what's going to happen. We need the Biden-Harris administration to act now while they have the power to do so. And number four, time is of the essence because my clients have gone and done everything that's been asked about them over the last 103 years. Think about that. 103 years, and yet they continue to have the door shut in their face each and every time. So we need to get justice for them now, and this fight will continue, but we want them to see some form of justice.
Greg Carr.
Thank you, Roland. It's always good to see you, Brother Damario.
Yeah, Dr. Carr.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Counselor. Looking at, and I would encourage everybody, in addition to going to sign to make sure that we get Merrick Garland off his behind and on this, to go to justice.gov and look at the list of the cold case closing memoranda here under the Civil Rights Division. It is literally a history book of violence against black people. Not just black people. I see Jim Reeb on that list, Schwerner, Goodman, and Cheney, of course, on that list. Of course, Emmett Till, so many others. And this is a follow-up to Dr. Guy's question on standing. It isn't necessary, even though we absolutely want these two elders to receive some form of justice before they, like we will all do, join the ancestors. But it isn't necessary for them to do that, isn't it? By my looking at through, I guess it's over 100 of these cases that are represented here on this website. By my looking through them, number one, this would be the longest in terms of the distance between when the event happened and now case that would have been opened by the Justice Department, right? And most of these folk, of course, were executed by the state. They're individual cases, so none of them are alive. So is that a bar? I don't think it's a bar, is it? Oh, go please.
No, Dr. Carr, thank you. And I'm sorry I didn't answer the question from the professor. No, that is not a bar. We do not have to have an actual survivor to have standing underneath this particular act, the Emmett Till Cold Case Act. And that's why this is so egregious. That this investigation has not already been opened up because they have the ability, the authority, the jurisdiction to open the investigation. And one of the things that they stated to us early on was, well, we don't know if it's anyone that we can prosecute. Well, number one, you can prosecute the entities, the corporations, and the businesses that are still living and breathing that perpetrated the massacre, including the city of Tulsa. But more importantly than that, the act itself, and Roland read it, the purpose of the act, the primary purpose is investigative and to provide answers and closure for answers that you cannot get any other way. And so it's egregious that this has not happened yet, but you're both right. We do not need standing. We just need a Department of Justice that is serious about racial justice and serious about providing some form of justice to our community, our collective community, because the attack on Tulsa was an attack on Black America.
All right, then. Well, Damario, surely keep us updated on what the next step is.
Absolutely. Go to justiceforgreenwood.org. Continue to follow us and work with us as we continue to seek justice and reparations for our people.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, folks. Let's go live to Greensboro, North Carolina, where Vice President Kamala Harris has now taken the stage.
And look, I believe we owe it to have another debate.
All right, right, folks. First of all, we were setting up our next caller, so we're going to switch our feed. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go to a separate feed for Vice President. Okay, guys, go ahead and pull her up.
America, like bringing down the cost of living, investing in America's small businesses, protecting reproductive freedom, and keeping our nation safe and secure. But that's not what we heard from Donald Trump. Instead, you know, and I called it at the beginning of the debate, it was the same old show. Same old tired playbook we've heard for years, with no plan for how he would address the needs of the American people. Well, folks, look, it's time to turn the page. Of leadership that is optimistic about what we can do for our country together. And that is why Democrats, Republicans, and independents are all supporting our campaign, because we agree. We have a duty as citizens to put country above partisanship and defend our Constitution. And that is my pledge to you. I will always put country above party. From the courthouse to the White House, I have always fought for the people. Always fought for the people. Yes, and it's, yes, USA, go on. From being a young courtroom prosecutor in Oakland, California, I stood up for women and children against predators who abuse them. As Attorney General of California, I took on the big banks and delivered $20 billion for middle-class families who face foreclosure. Being scammed by big for-profit colleges, for workers who were being cheated out of their wages, the wages they were due, for seniors facing elder abuse. I will be a president for all Americans. And together we will build a brighter future for our nation. All right, Newt. We are going to build a future where we build what I call an opportunity economy. So every American has an opportunity to own a home, to build wealth, to start a business. Businesses. Are there small business leaders here? Raise your hand. That's right. So, you know, growing up, my mother, she worked long hours. She often worked very long hours, my mother. And so my sister Maya and I would go over to Miss Shelton's house. Now, Miss Shelton, we called her our second mother. She was the second mother to us. She actually was from Louisiana, and she would take care of us in the evenings and on the weekends when my mother was working. And she was a small business owner. And let me tell you what I learned from being a young child about a small owner, Miss Shelton. Our small business owners, you are business leaders, and you are civic leaders, you are community leaders, you hire locally, you mentor, you are part of the fabric of our communities, and you mountain are the backbone of America's economy. The backbone. So I have a plan for you, and my plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction for startup businesses. Because I understand not everybody, like the person that was on the stage with me the other night, gets handed $400 million on a silver platter and then files for bankruptcy 6 times. Come on, come on. I know because look, my mother, she worked hard, she saved up, and it wasn't until I was a teenager she was able to buy our first home. I know the challenges that Americans and working people and families are having right now in terms of affordable housing. And we need to build more housing in America. So part of my plan, part of my vision for an opportunity economy is we are going to cut red tape and work with the private sector to build 3 million new homes by the end of my first term. A plan to lower the cost of living for America's families on everything from health care to groceries, including taking on price gouging and those corporations when they take advantage of people in need. Under my plan, more than 100 million Americans will get a tax cut. Thousands of dollars of your hard-earned money will go back in your pockets, including $6,000 during the first year of a child's life for young parents, knowing in that critical stage of your child's development, you might need a little help, not just to get by, but to get ahead. And I will always put the middle class and working families first. I know where I came from. He has a different plan. Just Google Project 2025. I see you have. It is a detailed and dangerous blueprint for what he will do if he is elected president. Donald Trump will give billionaires massive cuts, massive tax cuts, and cut corporate taxes by over $1 trillion, even as they pull down record profits. He intends to cut Social Security and Medicare. And he wants to impose what I call a Trump sales tax on everyday basic necessities, which will cost the average American family nearly $4,000 a year. Some of the top economists in our country and in the world have reviewed these plans. Goldman Sachs, for example, has said that my plan would grow our economy and his plan would shrink the economy. That his plan would reignite inflation and send us into a recession by the middle of next year. On top of this, Donald Trump intends to end the Affordable Care Act. Now think about that. Think about that. We remember what it meant when insurance companies could deny you for a pre-existing condition. Remember what that was? So he wants to get rid of it. And as he said in the debate, he made clear he has no plan to replace it. In fact, you remember? Concepts of a plan, which means no actual plan, And 45 million Americans Americans are insured through the Affordable Care Act. So understand what that means. He's going to end it based on a concept and take us back when folks were suffering. Well, we're not going back. We are not going back. We are not. We're not going back. No, not going back. No, we together will move forward because ours is a fight for the future. And ours is a fight for freedom. Like the fundamental freedom of a woman to be able to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. And we remember how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade, with the intention they would undo the protections. And they did exactly as he intended. And now more than 20 states have a Trump abortion ban, including North Carolina, and every single state in the South except Virginia, many with no exceptions even for rape and incest. It is immoral. Immoral. And I know everyone here understands. Let us agree. One does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government should not be telling her what to do with her body. Tuesday night, Donald Trump refused to say that he would veto a national abortion ban. Well, when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedom, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. Proudly sign it into law. Across our nation, we are witnessing a full-on attack on hard-fought, hard-won fundamental rights and freedoms, like the freedom to vote, the freedom to be safe from gun violence, the freedom to breathe clean air and drink clean water, and the freedom to love who you love openly and with pride. And here's the thing that I know about all of the North Carolinian leaders who are here. You know this so well, it's part of your DNA. Generations of Americans before us led the fight for freedom. Generations of Americans before us, many from right here, led the fight for freedom. Do we have a medic? Let's get a medic over there, please. Let's get a medic over there. Yeah, but let's make sure, see, this is who we are. We look out for each other. That's what leaders do, looking out for each other. Okay, we've got a medic. Okay. So generations of Americans before us led the fight for freedom, and now the baton is in our hands. The baton is now in our hands. And we who believe then in the sacred freedom to vote will finally pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the Freedom to Vote Act. And we who believe in the freedom to live safe from gun violence will finally pass an assault weapons ban, universal background checks, and red flag laws. So much is on the line in this election. And we got this. We got this. But look, here's the thing. This is not 2016 or 2020. The stakes are even higher. Because 2 months ago, the United States Supreme Court basically told the former president that he will effectively be immune no matter what he does in the White House. Well, here's the thing. The courts will take care of that. Let's take care of November. How about that? All right? But imagine what that court ruling means. Imagine what that means. Because before, there might have been at least the belief that there would be the threat of consequence. But now there's an explicit ruling from the court that suggests he would be immune. Imagine Donald Trump with no guardrails. Imagine what that would look like. He who has vowed, if reelected, he will be a dictator on day one. He who called for the, quote, termination of the Constitution of the United States. And let us be very clear, someone who suggests that we should terminate the Constitution of the United States should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States. Never again. Never again. Never. And put that all in the context of people who have been talking about how he was when they served with him in the White House. People who saw him every day. His national security advisor, his defense secretary, his chief of staff, and his vice president. All of whom have warned America, Donald Trump is not fit to be president of the United States. And should never occupy our nation's highest office again. So North Carolina, I believe it all comes down to this. We are here together. We are here together because we love our country. We love our country. And we together understand the awesome responsibility that comes with the greatest privilege on earth, the privilege and pride of being an American. It's an awesome responsibility. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. And I do believe it is the highest form of patriotism to fight for the ideals of our country and to fight to realize the promise of America. And so, North Carolina, we have 54 days until Election Day. 54 days until Election Day. until early voting begins. And it's not only the presidency that's on the ballot. There are many, many important races, like Josh Stein running for governor. Whose opponent was handpicked by Donald Trump because he wants a total ban on abortion in this state. And that is just one of the many stakes that are at play in this election. But see, we know the power is with the people. The power is with the people. Your voice is your vote, North Carolina. And you are going to make all the difference in the outcome of this race. And look, we know ours will be a very tight race until the very end. We are the underdog. Let's be clear about that. We are the underdog. And so we have hard work ahead of us, but we like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard work is good work. And with your help, we will win. We will win. And so I ask you today, North Carolina, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, we win. There you go. God bless you, and God bless America.
Folks, Vice President Kamala Harris, 2 rallies today in North Carolina. That's Greensboro earlier. She was in Charlotte, and so sold out arena, jam-packed in both of those states. The momentum is certainly on her side. You know, it drives me crazy when her campaign does that. I've even told them that. I'm like, don't cut the damn feed. Y'all cameras are still there. I told them that. I'm like, so, okay, I know some of y'all watching. It's a pet peeve of mine, okay? Listen, your cameras are there. You're already live. When the rally is over, you don't just end the feed. You stay on her. She's going to be waving. And that's what you do. I don't understand why they cut the feed. Ain't like they about to pack up. I'm just saying. It drives me crazy when they do that. The White House does that too. I'm like, it does. I'm like, it drives me absolutely crazy. You stick with the feed. I don't get it. But bottom line is, 2 huge rallies today in North Carolina. That is a crucial state. You heard her in her speech reference Josh Stein, who is the Democratic nominee for governor, running against that crazy, deranged fool, Mark Robinson, who is the lieutenant governor. I saw one poll showing Stein having a 12 to 14-point lead, but it's a lot tighter in the presidential race. Remember, the last time Democrats won North Carolina was in 2008, when then Senator Barack Obama won North Carolina by 14,100 votes, and he won that because of a massive black turnout. That needs to happen as well. And so North Carolina can actually be flipped, but it's about working on the ground, going to those rural places there in Georgia. Going in North Carolina, very similar to what happened in Georgia in 2020 as well. So I want to talk about this with also, I'll say this here, Donald Trump. I told everybody, what did I tell y'all when it came to the debate on Tuesday? I said, that boy ain't gonna have another debate. I said, he's scared. He's scared. And so you saw when he lost the debate on Tuesday night. He went right to the spin room because he knew he lost. And then he was claiming, oh, the polls showed us 90, 85. We want, boy, shut up. But that's how he lies. Well, he had a rally today. I don't know where in the hell he was. I don't really care. And so this is actually what he said. But I told y'all, wasn't going to be no another debate. When you smack a white man that bad one time, he ain't going to do it again. Here we go.
So because we've done 2 debates and because they were successful, there will be no third debate. It's too late anyway. The voting's already begun.
Yeah, see, what happened was Vice President Kamala Harris, see, she brought some baby powder, and she smacked his ass like a pimp. And so that's actually what happened at the debate. Again, what has to happen, a repeat in Georgia, a repeat in North Carolina, that is turning out rural voters, turning out black men as well. My panel, of course, is Lauren Victoria Burke with NNPA, Black Press Youth of America. She joins us right now as well. Also, joining us on the show right now is Dr. Francis Johnson, chair of the New Georgia Project. I'm gonna bring this together because you're starting your Black Male Tour. And when we had Christopher Toller on yesterday, and guys, bring up all 5 of us. When we talked about the numbers, I mean, the reality is she still has room to grow when it comes to black voters. And North Carolina, Lauren, I want to start with you. North Carolina, same as Georgia. You can't just focus on Charlotte, Greensboro, Raleigh, Durham. You really have got to go to the black belt of North Carolina. You got to go to those rural places, the places where they don't see people often. Vice President Kamala Harris, Governor Tim Walz, they were in Georgia for that rural tour. More of that has to happen because what they cannot do, a lot of those places have a lot of black votes, but you got to get them out.
Yeah, and a lot of people that probably haven't seen a Democrat in a long time. Obviously, when they went to Georgia, they went to Savannah, which was a really, I think, a surprise to a lot of strategists. But here it is. I mean, when you have a really close race, and that race in Georgia promises to be close, and anything I think in North Carolina promises to be close, I think the Republicans have a problem with their top of ticket, Mark Robinson. I just walked out of a reception downtown Washington, D.C., and Mondale Robinson was there, and we had a very lively talk about black voters, as we typically do, and he was pointing out much the same thing. And the thing to really pay no attention to really is the punditry and people who don't analyze black voters, and I would say also particularly ignoring the New York Times, which is very strange. All the data projects that black voters are energized. There was a report a few minutes ago from Target Smart that Taylor Swift's announcement is bringing in something like 8,000 or 9,000 registrations per hour. You could assume that is probably for Team Blue, particularly since Taylor Swift endorsed the vice president. But on top of that, and what you just said, Roland, about rural, these are the things you have to do in a close race. These are the things that could really matter, and particularly for Georgia and North Carolina. And certainly Pennsylvania, but Georgia and North Carolina, this is going to be a very close race, no matter what anyone says. And these types of moments where we see these registrations and we see the vice president campaigning in what would be considered non-traditional places for Democrats, it could really matter in the end.
But when we talk about going to those places, Min Young, what has to happen is it has to be not just the vice president and Governor Tim Walz. This is where you've got to have an aggressive surrogate campaign. This is where you've got to be holding lots of events. I go back to 2020 when I was on the ground in the runoff for Warnock and Ossoff, and you had New Georgia Project, you had Georgia Stand Up, you had Black Voters Matter, You had folks who were holding rallies. They were having concerts. Now granted, it was COVID, and so it was parking lots and things along those lines. But they were touching the people. They were talking to the people. They were going there. They were going to places in Georgia. They were going to places in Georgia like Albany. They were going to Jonesboro, Statesboro, or go those places. And so, to me, if I'm putting together, again, if I'm working on the campaign, and I'm putting together a map, I'm putting together a map of North Carolina and Georgia. And what I'm saying is, okay, I'm looking at all of these places. So give me the places, I want to know first the places where the black population is 50% or higher. And then I'm going down 40, 30, 20, 10. And I'm now separating that. So I now want to say, okay, now where am I sending people? Where are we having events? Okay, you got all these entertainers. Okay, I don't need y'all in Atlanta. I don't need y'all in Charlotte. I don't need you in Greensboro. I need to send you to the places where they never see entertainers. Oh, now I'm looking at this place here. And okay, if I'm in North Carolina, let me look at the overlays. In these precincts here, how many of these people voted for Obama in 2008, but didn't come back and vote in 2010 midterms? How many voted in 2012, and then 14 midterms, then 2016, then 18 midterms, then 2020, then 22 midterms? Now that's giving me an idea of where I need to be sending people. That, to me, is the depth in which not only the Harris campaign should be looking at, but the Democratic National Committee, and also all of these damn PACs that are taking in crazy amounts of money, and they're dumping that money on television. But in many of these places, and we're going to talk about this here with Francis, a lot of these places, you got these small little gospel stations that preachers have, whatever, that are reaching the community that folks are not tapping. That's where your margins are going to come from in terms of the victory.
Absolutely. 100%.
Francis, 1 second. Mignon, that was for you. I'm going to come back to Francis.
Okay,
Hold on.
Sorry, you went on a little while.
But I called your name for a reason. That was called teeing you up.
I got you.
See, if you had your Time Life headset on, you would have figured that out.
You just hate the fact that you can't wear them on your head. That's all.
Oh, I can.
One of the things I think you're 100% right? The campaign and these individuals have to tap these untapped markets. But one of the things I really want all of us to remember, I have so many things to say right now. I'm thinking Nicole Hannah-Jones, America wasn't democracy until black people made it one. That's what I was hearing when I was listening to Vice President Harris. But one of the things that I really want all of us to remember is that democracy is a participatory engagement, right? So yes, the candidates have to do what they got to do. All of their folks, their surrogates, they have to do what they have to do. But we all know people in those neighborhoods as well. We all have someone that knows somebody who knows someone in those communities as well. We can have a cookout. We can have our own gatherings. We can engage ourselves as opposed to just waiting for them, right? Because my concern is that we see this money coming into the campaign, and yes, the strategists will put their money where they need to, and hopefully, but we have to always remember the fact that they are only one layer of all of this. This is about us. So the question is, what can we do as a society? What can we do for our own community? Because if nothing else, Donald Trump is an existential threat, not only to democracy, he is an existential threat to Black America. And that's what we have to think about. That's what we have to remember, not out of fear, because we've got this, but we absolutely have to engage ourselves. I watch my sisters text all the time, and they watch this as if it's like a reality TV show, and I have to turn it off sometimes because I'm like, this is a reality TV. These are our futures at stake, right? So what are we going to do to make sure that we see the finish line with this candidate and make sure that we hold them accountable for all of their promises that will, in the end, benefit all of us as well?
Greg, again, listen. We also understand the role that money plays. Go to my iPad, Steve. 24 hours after the debate, $47 million raised by the Harris campaign, the second highest haul after the decision that Biden was stepping down. 600,000 individual donors. Bottom line is, this is, and I keep saying this, it's ground game, ground game, ground game. Strategists cannot be fixated on television airwaves. TV is important, digital is important, but this is where you're going door to door. You're studying precinct numbers. You're touching people 4 and 5 times. You're explaining to them the policies. That's what is going to be the difference. And when you start adding up 500 here, 600 here, 300 here, right there, you're talking about that's 1,400 votes. Remember, Obama won the state by 14,100 votes. You start doing that, you start picking up another 50 votes with every precinct in North Carolina. That's the margin of victory. You win.
Absolutely. It's interesting, the energy we're seeing now. We all remember you taking the Roll-Mobile down into Georgia, and everybody moving down there for that runoff. Everybody knocking on doors, including people like the folk from Until Freedom and everyone else, all the way across the spectrum to the hardened politicos. And Dr. Johnson, will be interesting to hear you talk about that. I know y'all were on the ground there then, and now coming up with New Georgia and our friend and brother Mauli Davis with Black Man Lab. That energy seems to be coming up again, except we knew it was for all the marbles in that little window between the election and the runoff with one off. And I saw, watching the vice president in North Carolina today, both speeches, she's looser, she's closer to herself, it almost feels like. You saw that little shout out to Cap Alpha Psi there from the podium. She's showing a little black. She said, I knew. She said, okay, look at her trying to get a little loose with it, right? Interestingly enough, though, the Democrats are trying to reclaim patriotism. That's an interesting move. Notice the cultural shifts. Dick Cheney and those folks, open enemies of our common humanity, have endorsed Kamala Harris. What does that mean? I think in part it means that they think that national security, that their nationalist project is safe in her hands. Then you see the cultural warriors like Taylor Swift. The pop culture takes its shift. Then you see the New York Times, to your point, Lauren, I think in part, I read the New York Times every day with my hand pinched against my nose, but David Brooks just dropped his op-ed for tomorrow on the website. And he's talking about how a cultural shift could help Harris. The New York Times is always wrong, but now they seem to see where the wind is. They see where the wind is blowing. So they're trying to back up, as Lawrence O'Donnell said last night on MSNBC. They're trying to back up from their sane washing of Donald Trump. After Tuesday night, it's almost like everybody wants to pick her as the winner. And the trendy, Tim Walz today in Grand Rapids, Michigan, instead of saying we won't go back, the crowd started chanting we won't eat cats. So, the momentum is seeming like it's the normal people versus the weirdos. And Kamala Harris seems to be opening a kind of sensibility that I think, and Roland, you remember this, of course, when you invited then Senator Harris down to the TV1 studio. And one of my former students, graduate now, was on her staff. And as they were coming in and out of the studio, she was playful. She was kind of this Harris we saw at the podium today is closer to the Kamala Harris people know when the microphone is off and the lights are down. And I think that's going to trend in her benefit as this country gets to pick between a sane person and this fool. And that number picking for the fool seems to be, if not shrinking, scared that they're about to hit an avalanche if we do what needs to be done.
I think the tours like the one that y'all launching, this Black Man Tour, are important. You have to touch people. You have to touch them. You can't, and these smaller conversations then begin to lead to the personal conversations, and then they begin to build and grow this way. I keep reminding people what the date is. It's the 12th of September. The election ain't tomorrow, Francis. And so I keep telling folks, yes, you got early voting. Go back. Yes, you got early voting. Yes, you got all of that. But it's a build up. So if you look at November 5th and you say, conversations start now, you go for the next 3 weeks, you're into October, you got 5 weeks before the election day, you build up to that, and that's what gets people out to vote.
Absolutely. The good thing about it is we didn't stop after you left the tour in 2022. We have engaged in this black man conversation consistently and ongoing in the interim. And additionally, the New Georgia Project has been building power in these communities every day, 365 days and 366 days, because this is a leap year. And in these last 54 days before Election Day, we know our assignment, which is to turn out those communities that we've been in conversation with this whole time. We just wish that the rest of the apparatus that claims they want victory would share in the resources they have in this final push.
Well, that's one of the reasons why when we had our Win with Black Men call, we made a strategic decision to not send all the money to the campaign. And there were some people who were upset by that. And I told them, I don't give a damn. I literally said, I don't give a shit what you think. That was a quote. And I said, and we will do it again. Because the point that I made is, I'm not interested in black folks. We can raise money, but I'm not interested in raising money and sending it somewhere and then begging to get it back. Now, no, we gonna distribute. We gonna distribute it ourselves. And what I keep saying, Francis, that has to happen. You have to plow money into the ground. You have to. The numbers are the numbers. I understand media. I'm in media. But even with what we do things differently, even on this show, when we take the show. So when somebody says, well, what about political advertising on Black Star Network? It allows us, the political advertising, commercials you see, allows us to take the show on the road. It allows us to do what we did when you were on the panel there. It allows us to go to those towns in Georgia. We literally went so far east in Georgia, we flew into Jacksonville to get there. We flew into Jacksonville, Florida to get there. And that's what this requires when you start looking at margins. It can't just be television ads, radio ads. It has to be on the ground where you're having the conversations. I keep saying you have to educate and enlighten people first before you can then ask them to register. Then you got to keep educating and enlightening them after they register to then go vote.
It takes at least 5 touches, and we know that between now and Election Day, we will touch another million Georgians all over, in the cities, in rural Georgia, and all across the state. We will engage in 250,000 phone banks run by D9, churches, mosques, temples, the Masonic Lodge. Tomorrow, we're convening the Black Men Lab Tour with the Prince Hall Masons, 10,000 strong in Athens, and a conversation around men, and that will continue for 13 cities. We will register another 10,000 folks for a total of 60,000 this election cycle alone. We understand that this cycle is important, and Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are on the ballot, but our families are on the ballot. And when you put that in front of the segments of our voting demographic, our new majority here in Georgia, that's important to Black men, Black women. It's important to all of the folks who need to turn out for the win to happen in Georgia again.
The Black Man Tour that y'all are doing, first of all, how many towns, cities are y'all planning to hit?
13 cities across this state, starting in Athens. We'll go across all of those places you linked up earlier that have voting populations above 50%. And we'll include some places that normally wouldn't make that list, like Statesboro. That is the growing hub of a new area in South Georgia, where there's an investment from the Biden-Harris campaign in terms of solar and green energy, which is why there's an $8 billion electric vehicle plant being built there. You're seeing white farmers convert to solar farms, and make no mistake about it, they may have voted for Trump and the Republicans before, but they understand that the future of their solar farms now are in the hands of people who believe that there is a crisis in terms of our environment and that the green agenda makes sense for them, dollars and cents for them. So that's why she was in Savannah, because the largest investment in green energy in the South is 4 miles outside of Savannah in a place called Pembroke, Georgia. And so this makes sense for those who are on the ground. Now, if you want to spend all your money with Northeastern elite marketing firms who are going to tell you how to talk to Black people in Georgia, that's fine. If you really want to run a ground game that's going to make a difference, like an 11,779 vote difference, then come talk to us at the New Georgia Project and the Black Men Lab.
The 13, which cities? So you mentioned Athens, you mentioned Statesboro.
Augusta, Valdosta, Brunswick, where that tragedy happened with Ahmaud Arbery.
Yep.
Atlanta, we'll be out in Clayton County, in Gwinnett County, we'll be in Macon-Bibb, we'll be in Warner Robins, and in a couple of those stops, we will engage again. And so we'll touch some of those places across this tour map 26 times. 26 times this lab and this conversation will be engaged. That's in addition to our weekly lab that runs every week in Atlanta on Monday and Tuesday.
All right, then. Well, look, I mean, this is what is needed, not just in Georgia, but also in North Carolina, in Arizona, hell, in Florida, in Texas. You have to have that level of engagement. I think it absolutely matters. Francis, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Going to go to a break. We'll be right back. We'll pick up on the conversation when we come right back. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered for the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join the Bring the Funk fan club. So you're checking money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. And let me also do this here. And Keenan, send me the information for the other Cash App. So come to me on this one. All right, kill the music. So let me explain to y'all what's going on with Cash App. And it's frankly, is really pissing me off. So Cash App, for some insane ass reason, decided to change their procedures. And so they now cap the number of transactions you can receive in a day, in a week, and in the month. So a lot of you have been trying to support this show, and you've been getting rejected. Your donations are not going through. That's because Cash App changed their rules. I have been texting them, I have been emailing them saying, what the hell are y'all doing? How do you not tell anybody? And what's the point of actually doing this? It makes no sense whatsoever. And so I don't get it, because it just makes no sense. Why would you cap how many transactions can happen a day? Now, if you're sitting here saying, oh, it's for fraud prevention, okay, but then you have other accounts that are accounts that allow transactions. And so again, we're trying to get them to raise it. And so I said to them, it was happening last week. We saw it last week. And then I said, listen, y'all let me know about Monday. Well, I said, I'm gonna start calling y'all out. So here's what we're gonna do. Y'all use something else other than Cash App. I'm telling y'all what Cash App is doing, okay? So here's what we had to do. We had to create additional, and I didn't want to do this. I did not want to create additional Cash App accounts, because then folks are like, well, I don't know which one is real, which one works, or whatever. So this is a backup Cash App right here, which is $ Uncle Roro Martin. That's what that right there. So come on, go ahead and show it. So that's a backup Cash App. We have a third backup Cash App. And so we're trying to get them to change this stupid ass policy, because it's just dumb. It's just dumb. So, and so don't use our normal one, which is the one, don't use that one, because again, I mean, every time it gets blocked, I get a notification of it being blocked. And it just keeps happening. And this thing really started last week. It just makes no sense to me whatsoever why Cash App is doing this. And so, in fact, somebody tried to do a payment the last hour. Robin Thames tried to actually do a payment. Nope, got rejected. Victoria Herndon tried to give us her $50. She called it her tithe, got rejected. Michelle Chatham got rejected. Angela, our line got rejected because they're trying to give to our normal Cash App. So this is the backup Cash App. Here are the other forms that we accept electronically. PayPal, okay, R. Martin Unfiltered. That's paypal.me/R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is /RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland@RolandSMartin.com, Roland@RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And so we are putting pressure on Cash App. I'm about to post this. I need y'all to also tell Cash App what the hell are y'all doing because they need to change this. All right, folks, I'll be right back.
He told us who he was.
Should abortion be punished? There has to be some form of punishment.
Then he showed us.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it. And I'm proud to have done it.
Now Donald Trump wants to go further with plans to restrict birth control, ban abortion nationwide, even monitor women's pregnancies. We know who Donald Trump is. He'll take control. We'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
IVF is a miracle for us because it allowed us to have our family. After having my daughter, I wanted more children, but my embryo transfer was canceled 8 days before the procedure. Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade stopped us from growing the family that we wanted. I don't want politicians telling me how or when I can have a baby. We need a president that will protect our rights, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on. America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts himself over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
And the nation's highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is a danger to our troops and our democracy. We can't let him lead our country again.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
The overturning of Roe almost killed me. I had a blood clot in my uterus that caused my labor to have to be induced because of the overturn of Roe v. Wade. I wasn't able to get life-saving treatment sooner. I almost died. And that's because of the decision that Donald Trump made.
I was able to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I'm proud to have done it.
The doctors and nurses were afraid that if they treated me in the incorrect way, that they would be prosecuted for that. And that's appalling. Donald Trump says that women should be punished.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? There has to be some form of punishment for the woman. Yeah.
I believe that women should have reproductive freedom to make the choices about their own bodies. 4 more years of Donald Trump means that women's rights will continue to be taken away one by one by one by one. This has to stop because women are dying.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Coles.
Hey, I'm Donnie Simpson.
Yo, it's your man Dion Cole from Blackish, and you watch
Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
The conversation we were just having about, again, how do you reach folks, really is a crucial one as we are now less than 60 days into the campaign. Lauren Victoria Burke, I want to go to you. I mean, I'll give you an example. When Don Scott hit us up and said, hey, man, I want you to come help us out in Virginia in 2023. what you did for Warnock in 2020. You had some folks who were like, man, what are you doing? Why are y'all engaging Roland Martin in the streaming show? He said, first of all, because he can reach people we can't. And so they were fixated, and this is the mistake that people make. They were fixated on, well, only, 50 and 60 and 70 people turned up. And he said, did you see how many were streaming? And he told me about the number of calls and emails they got from people who said, hey, I couldn't make it out to the event, but I was watching it on my phone. And then the candidates who were showing up, they were taking those clips and they were driving it on their social pages on all of their platforms. This is the campaigning in 2024. Too many of these strategists are still trying to run analog campaigns in a digital environment.
Yeah, and also they don't want to share the money with anybody black who is not in their friend circle. To your point, Roland, with regard to the money, with regard to the win with Black Men Call, and let's spend it on television. I mean, it's incredible to me. Every time we get a lightning in the bottle candidate, African American, in this case Vice President Harris, in the last case then U.S. Senator Barack Obama, and then, of course, President Obama, these lightning in the bottle candidates who are in touch with the culture, in touch with young people a lot of times, and in touch with the style of politics that really works and gets people excited and galvanized, gets people off the couch. As you can see with Vice President Harris, we're having this huge spike in registrations, huge spike in interest.
From a lot of people who never gave before.
Right. A lot of people who never gave before, first-time givers and small donor givers, which tells you that they want to be a part of it. They want to be a part of the history and a part of the moment. We saw the same thing in 2008. We have this added component that it's a female candidate as well. You have that going on. And then you have this across the board, across demographics interest, from white dudes to white women to black men to black women, of course. And you're telling me that person that raises a record amount of money, who happens to be a black female candidate, everyone else's demographic is controlling the money. You've got to be kidding me. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the NFL. The black players bring the gate, they bring the money, they bring the excitement, they bring the fans, and then a bunch of white folks are making the decisions about where the money is spent. And in this particular case, what we find is that, particularly with television, the money is just going to the same people, same pollsters who may or may not have been correct last cycle. Quite frankly, many of them are not correct. And then they get the contract again and again and again and again. It makes absolutely no sense. The ground game does not get spent on, because the ground game are, in fact, the folks in the streets and the folks that are not TV. And typically, a lot of times in these communities, black folks knocking doors. So there's a reason why all of a sudden, we can't do ground game. But with this type of money around, when you have $500 million being raised and counting, there's absolutely no excuse to do ground game because you have all this money. When you start dividing this money, by the way, it gets to a point where you do have to ask the question, where exactly is this money going? Where is it being spent? We only have but so many contested House races, for example. There's like 30, maybe, that are frontline races. And so if you put $2 million per race, that's only $60 million. And they're in the $500 million category. So it will be interesting to see who gets these contracts, who gets this money, where this money is spent, and what exactly the strategy is on the ground.
I can't tell you how many times, Greg, I have talked to campaign people who are frustrated with some of these decisions. And again, Warnock won in Georgia in 2022. In 2020, that was ground game. I get the little commercial where they had the puppy. I get all of that. But it was what the folks in Georgia did. They were going door to door. They were sitting here having those events. That's what did it. And that's what Vice President Kamala Harris is going to need to beat this thug.
Absolutely. Lauren evoked the number, and it's quite staggering to think. $500 million, and as you said, Lauren, and counting. That's a staggering number. And to read the reports of the last couple of weeks that the Harris campaign is starting to transfer money to the down ballot is very encouraging. We know that things change. We know the technologies change. We know that 2024 is not 2008. And as I said a moment ago, we all remember the runoff when everybody was energized and hit Georgia. Well, to seize that momentum that Lauren just talked about, this kind of infectious momentum that in 2008 built, of course, after Obama placed in the Iowa caucuses where he did, and Will I Am released that remix, Yes We Can, of the speech that kind of triggered everything. The difference between 2008 and now, and the thing that the Republicans are working hard to try to overcome early, Trump was in Arizona today, for example, perhaps the factor that is more relevant now than it's ever been is early voting. BANK, bank the vote. If you've got this momentum going now, spread out that ground game over the arc of the next 2 months. We know, as Rebecca said the other night during election coverage, as you remember, she said, early voting in Pennsylvania starts next week. So if you're going to have a rally, drive those people to the polls and tell them to vote now. Bank that vote. We know the Democrats run up leads that then evaporate on election day. Will run up an even larger lead. You got so much money now that kind of ground game campaign almost has to be, at least partially, because I agree with you wholeheartedly on the day itself and driving people and the small towns and the places people haven't reached, but also, maybe adjust that part that emphasizes doing some of that work, since you've got all this money with those door knockers and getting people out over the arc of the rest of these 2 months. Early voting starts October 15th in Georgia. There's a possibility that some of that chicanery that they've hired all these hillbilly election judges and all these folks, realizing that that's only the next step to the ultimate try, which is to control these state legislatures and these election judges and take the power to the state level and literally give the electoral votes to the loser of the campaign, which if they try that at this point, they're going to have to fight everybody from the pets to Caitlin Clark. The early voting might have a kind of role in this election that it's never had before. But only the work will reveal whether it does or not.
Mignon?
Yeah, I think, now that I'm thinking about what you're saying, I think the ground game is really important, but more so because we have this momentum. We're on this high right now, but we have to understand that the pendulum's going to swing, and there's going to be a lot of attacks on Vice President Harris and on the campaign and on Tim Walz and things of that nature. So yeah, it's really important to get people on the ground right now. It's also really important to get people to get to early voting right now, because we haven't even begun. The Republicans or the far right wing, whatever they are, I'm not really sure anymore. They're just spinning right now, but at some point they're gonna find their footing, and they're gonna come out with their guns blazing, so to speak, or fists swinging, right? So we have to be prepared for that, and I do believe you're correct that they have to invest in these local organizations and these local entities, because those are going to be the ones to be able to create some of the wall that will be able to buffer those attacks that will infiltrate the communities and diminish some of the joy and the excitement and the momentum behind the campaign.
One of the things that is getting on my nerves.
Is it me, Roland?
Mm-hmm. No, it's not you. Today. One of the things that's getting on my nerves are these entertainers and these non-entertainers who have no idea what the hell they're talking about. The latest dumb comment comes courtesy of Faison Love. I'm just gonna play this for you, and then I've got a few words on the other side.
I tried to watch the presidential debate, and it just was boring. So I ended up watching reruns of The Cosby Show. And I was like, wow, this is what's missing in America is the family, the black family. The nucleus is the black family, a structure. And that structure is being destroyed basically because of child support. Women are having these children check babies. They don't care about the kid, they just care about the check. And I was like, wow. I grew up with a mother and father. I never heard my mother once say, I'm gonna leave you and put you on child support. I didn't know what child support was until I was 50 years old. So I had to go to court for it. I'm like, what? I thought this was for deadbeats. I'm here, what the? My point is, Vice President Kamala, I hope I'm saying your name right, Donald Trump, if you want to win the presidential race, abolish child support.
I can't.
Okay. So, Faison Love says a lot of these women are having check babies.
Check babies. Like Melania?
So, are they impregnating themselves, Faison? Is the guy not there? Just wondering. The guy can't slap on a condom? I'm just trying to understand what, and see, this ain't just him. It's other men out there, black men, white men, Latino men, out there whining and complaining, man, this child support. Your ass laid down, knocked the boots. It's called responsibility. But that's really not what I'm going to focus on. So Faison Love said, oh, no, go back, leave it. Faison Love said, I ain't watched the debate. It was boring. I put on the Cosby Show. But your ass should have watched the debate. Because maybe what you would have learned, Faison, is that the people running for president of the United States, that's federal. Let me ask you this, Faison. Have you ever seen somebody go to federal court for child support? Lauren, Greg, Mignon, have y'all ever seen somebody go to federal court for child support?
No, sir.
No. No.
That means that if they went to court, it was state court.
Yeah.
That means, Faison,
yeah,
if you live in Georgia, and you know what, let me just look this up. Because see, we just had the example where Tyrese was in court complaining about child support and complaining about his ex-wife want more money. And what is, let's see here. This is the NBC story.
Ruh-roh.
Let me just pull this up.
Ruh-roh.
Go to my iPad.
Don't do it.
A judge in Georgia on Monday ordered actor and singer Tyrese Gibson jailed over his failure to make child support payments. Second paragraph, Faison. Fulton County Superior Court Judge Kevin M. Farmer found Gibson blah, blah, blah. Faison, Fulton County Superior Court Judge. That's the state. So if you, Faison, would like for child support to be abolished, then you and others are going to have to travel to 50 states in America and ask the legislature, not the governor, the legislature, to outlaw child support. I keep telling y'all we need Schoolhouse Rock 2.0. Maybe we need Big Perm.
Yikes.
Passing out some ice cream so we all can learn civics. Faison and anybody else who desires for Donald Trump or vice, and her name is Kamala.
Exactly.
Your name is not Fusion.
Yikes.
Your name is not Futon. Your name is Faison Love. So you can't say, well, one of the presidential candidates, can you please get rid of child support? Child support, Faison, is not a federal matter. Child support, Faison, is a state matter. Faison, please understand, when we're talking about the United States Constitution, there's a provision in the United States Constitution that deals with the issue of states' rights and federal rights. And in that particular Constitution, what it lays out, Faison, is whatever is not remunerated in the U.S. Constitution, it falls to the states. Faison, there is nothing in the United States Constitution that addresses childbearing. There's nothing in the United States Constitution that addresses the family. Nothing. That's a state issue. In fact, Faison, when a child is born and a birth certificate is issued, the birth certificate is not issued by the President of the United States. There is no presidential seal that is assigned to the birth certificate. There is no, you do not have on a birth certificate, if this was the birth certificate of your children, there's no signature line for the president, for the Speaker of the House, for the minority leader. There's no line for the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Health and Human Services, Secretary of Commerce. Doesn't exist. Because it's not federal. It's state. In fact, drill deeper, Faison, the birth certificate is county. I was born in a segregated hospital, Riverside Hospital. That's where all the black people were born in Houston until after integration, in 3rd Ward, Riverside Hospital. That birth certificate was filed with Harris County, the county where I live, where I was born. It wasn't authorized by Dallas County or the other 253 counties in Texas. It was authorized by Harris County. That's why, Faison, when you're invited to the White House, they send you a form, electronic form. Not only do they ask you what country are you from, they also ask you the state, because your address, and the county that you were born in. So, for all the people out here who are yelling about child support, and what is Kamala Harris gonna do about child support? Not a goddamn thing. Because she can't. Just like if somebody, I forgot who it was, somebody said, man, so-and-so needed pardon. No, because they were convicted in state court. The President of the United States has no state jurisdiction. The President of the United States can only pardon for federal crimes. That's it. Just like when all of these people were like, oh, Joe Biden put all these black people in jail because of the crime bill. The crime bill only applied to federal crimes, not state crimes. When people were talking about, well, the three strikes law, that was a federal 3 strikes, not state. So if you committed and here's the other deal with crime. There are state crimes and there are federal crimes. If you commit a state crime and you are convicted, first of all, if you commit a state crime, you're tried by a state judge, you're tried by a county prosecutor, and if you are convicted, you go to a state prison. If you commit a federal crime, you are prosecuted by a U.S. attorney for the said district, and then if you are convicted, you go to federal prison. So for all the folk like Faison Love who are making these claims, please, can y'all stop demanding that presidential candidates do things that they literally are not empowered to do? This ends today's civic lesson. Damn!
But Roland.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm with you 100%. And thank you, Professor Martin. But the thing that really scares me about yes, dude is a moron. Whatever he said was absolutely idiocy. Completely.
And here's the deal. Maybe he didn't know, but my God.
That's fine. Maybe he didn't know, but let me tell you what he did, what he could have done, which is very, very dangerous, right? So we have Kamala Harris that's talking about women's reproductive health and reproductive rights. We also know that Black women have the highest rates of maternal mortality and infant mortality, right? Black babies, Black mommies. We have to try to protect those people, those women, right? And this fool is over here talking about not wanting to pay for child support, right? So can you imagine somebody who's sitting at home and saying, yeah, he might be right. He might be right. Yeah, why do I even care about all that stuff? Because I will have to pay for child support anyhow. So maybe I don't want them to have that. What he's saying is dangerous. It's not just stupid. It's dangerous, and it endangers Black mothers and Black children, not just because of the check that he's talking about, but because of the fact that reproductive rights and reproductive health are on the ballot. That's why it's so dangerous. It's stupid, but it's dangerous, and that's the thing that we have to remember.
And let me be real clear here, Lauren. I've covered for years what happens in state courts. They're called family courts. There are numerous examples where men get screwed in family court. I've covered these stories in Houston, in Dallas, in Chicago. But the reason these family courts are there is because there are women who have been stiffed by men. There are men who will lay down and get them some, and they get off after they are done after 30 seconds or a minute, and then that produces a child, and you don't see them for 20 years or the rest of their lives. The system was set up because there are people, and Faison says, well, he said, I thought that child support was for deadbeat dads. No. It was to establish an economic base to care for the child. Now, there are men who say, I think that's too much money. You have a system that bases upon one's income and things along those lines. But this notion that Vice President Kamala Harris or Donald Trump or any of the 100 United States senators or any of the 435 House members can abolish child support is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lack of teaching of civics in the United States. I actually happen to have a family court judge in my family in New York, and one day I went in and sort of just watched her do her cases, and that was quite a fascinating time, as you might imagine. A lot of them are divorce custody cases, and very fraught with a lot of emotional stuff that goes on. But
yeah,
quite frankly,
where individuals don't want to pay health care, don't want to pay for school, don't want to pay for food, don't want to pay for a lot of stuff that has to be done to care for that child. That's why the family court was established.
Yeah, well, in the family court as well, the biggest thing is when you just have a couple that breaks up and nobody can decide on where the kids are going to live and what the visitation rules are. And that, of course, is fraught with peril. And my relative, who's a judge, has to walk around the courthouse with a guy with a big gun around his shoulder in the courthouse, not outside the courthouse, in the courthouse, because, of course, these are extremely emotional cases.
And there have been courthouse shootings in family courtrooms.
Yeah, and so for me, but I'm sort of off the bus the minute you start talking about not paying, either the system not paying or one of the folks involved in creating that child not paying, and I'm out of that discussion, because when we do not support our children and economically support our children, we pay on the back end in a big way and an expensive way usually. Particularly in cases of broken homes and, incarceration, all of that. Truancy is extremely expensive. We certainly have the money to do everything else, particularly sending money overseas. So all of this whining and complaining about, oh, my God, we're spending money. The average food stamp allotment in this country is still under $100 per month. It's not like we're giving millions of dollars to poor people, particularly people who are single parent families who are raising a child. And that's why the income tax credit, the child tax credit, was such a huge deal, lifted a bunch of kids out of poverty. So the entire discussion around, oh, somebody's a deadbeat, I mean, it's ridiculous. We're a rich nation, and we should take care of our folks. So, I don't know.
But again, a rich nation doesn't take care of our folks. That's a whole different conversation. Mm-hmm. These are individuals who impregnated women who result is a child. And again, Greg, okay, guess what? Faison, you may not realize that. But I need a lot of people in this country to understand that you can't make demands of a Vice President Kamala Harris or Donald Trump that they have no jurisdiction over. Just like you can't demand of the county commissioner where you live, county commissioner, you got to fix these schools. If I don't have jurisdiction over the schools, I can't fix the schools. Now, there may be a school board. Does that school board have jurisdiction? Just like, and again, I'm helping all the people out here who don't realize this, okay? I'm taking Washington, D.C. out of the conversation because this is the District of Columbia. It's not a state, it's a city, but it's a city that actually has a mayor, the city council, but federal Congress has oversight because it's a district. So I'm gonna go back to Houston. I'm gonna go back to Riverside Hospital. Scott Street is a prominent street in 3rd Ward, Houston. Scott Street, if there is a pothole, and this is for Faison and the people out here who don't know, if there's a pothole on Scott Street, you do not call County Judge Rodney Ellis County Commissioner Rodney Ellis or County Judge Lena Hidalgo to fix the pothole on Scott Street. Why? That's a city street. You have to call Mayor John Whitmire. But matter of fact, Houston has at-large council member districts. You don't call council member in Northwest Houston about the pothole on Scott Street. You call the council member for that district. So people need to understand, and I see this stuff all the time where people are saying stuff, don't even realize who's over it, who controls it, who to talk to. In fact, it happened today at CBC. Some woman, came to, in all good meaning, she came to me and she said, I just moved to Georgia. I'm trying to get in contact with your Congresswoman, Jasmine Crockett, because I want to do something about them taking people off the rolls in Georgia. And I went, why are you calling Jasmine Crockett? I said, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett represents a district in the Dallas area. You live in Georgia. So if you want to deal with, and I said, and matter of fact, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is on the federal level. The issue you talking about is a state level. And I literally said, sister, if you want to lend your talents, I said, call Georgia Stand Up, a grassroots organization in Georgia. I said, but you in Georgia calling the Congresswoman in Texas to deal with a Georgia problem, that ain't gonna work. That's what we're doing. People, it's civics 101, Greg.
It is. It is. And well, what did she say when you gave her that response?
Oh my God, I got all this confused. Thank you. You're right. I said, call Georgia Stand Up. They're waiting on you.
And therein, for all of us, is the lesson in the value, one of the many values of the Black Star Network. For those who are truly seeking information, an answer will provide that nudge in the right direction and some direction. In 34 years of teaching, one of the phrases, and I heard it again today in the classroom, there's a paper, I have a paper due in one of my classes on Sunday. I gave them the weekend to finish it. And these two words bring me, they're triggering for me sometimes. I have to remind myself, though, that the kind of society we live in, which produces Faison Loves and folk like it, I'm confused. I said, to be confused, you have to have a solid position. So what's your position against which what I've said doesn't make sense? And that's when typically when people say they're confused, it's like Faison saying he's bored. That speak for, I will not take the time or focus to enable my brain, which is fully capable of understanding these things, to engage, to think through what's going on. So when Faison, and I like when students say I'm bored. When you say I'm bored, what they're really, you should be bored when you've mastered a thing to the point where you don't have to think about it. Not when you have looked at a thing and said, I don't understand. You got to use your words here. Now I'm saying all that as this backdrop. That sister heard what you had to say and made the course correction because she's legitimately trying to figure out what's going on. But, and I agree with you, Dr. Guy, we're living in a dangerous time now where you got election interference. I don't care whether it's Russia, I don't care whether it's China, I don't care who it is, who elevate the weaponized ignorance of the Faison Loves of the world. And first of all, he would never come on this show to try to clarify anything because you're not DJ Vlad. So there's no money involved. There's no spectacle involved. There's no attempt to resuscitate a Z-list celebrity career and make it push all the way back up to H where it was before. There's no incentive for Faison Love to do that. Plus, we know there, but for the grace of God goes everybody who, God help any of us, might fall into a situation in life where they just feel hopelessly overmatched. And people in this country look at politicians like celebrities. And this, again, is where I think we're going with this. In a society where people like that aren't interested in information, but inventing whatever combination of addled, stressed, traumatic, miseducated, convening is in their soul to bubble it forth, they can be used as pawns in larger games. We know that voter suppression is real. We know that weaponized ignorance is real. And a Faison Love has a role to play in a federal election that will set aside all the intelligent conversations about federal and state and local power, set aside all the conversations about child support, where it comes from, why it's necessary, why it must be paid, when in moments when, and most of the time you're talking about men to women, but with women to men, these adjustments should or can be made. That's the conversation for legal scholars, for people going through it, for politicians, for media folks who are informed like you. But it's not a conversation when weaponized ignorance has a very good chance of affecting the federal election. And that's what makes Faison Love dangerous. Not that he needs to be corrected in terms of his information. He and everybody else who thinks that way should be, but because they can be used as pawns in a much larger game. And the next thing you know, the next fool that turns on social media and says, see, Kamala Harris is not for getting rid of this child support. She's against black men. And then here comes the press from wherever, Moscow, Beijing, wherever, and boom, it's weaponized. And here go 3 more Negroes in barbershop spreading ignorance. I don't know how we combat that is the question.
That's right.
Well, I just, the thing for me is, folks just say stuff, and you're right, and I keep saying this, but all these celebrities, you have a larger platform than some Yahoo talking on social media.
Absolutely.
You do. And so, before you open your mouth, ask somebody. Literally say, hey, bro, let me ask you a question. Could Vice President Kamala Harris or Donald Trump or Joe Biden, could they get rid of child support? No. Now, it's also important, make sure you ask somebody who knows what the hell they're talking about. So you know what, matter of fact, let me just give this advice to Faison Love and anybody else. I want you to go through life as if this is the game Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And now remember the game Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Remember they had Phone a Friend? Now,
Lifeline.
Now, every single one of us know is some people we know ain't never getting a phone call.
Facts.
Now, you might have a friend if the question is about alcohol, call their ass. Because you know they are partying drunk. Call their ass. I'm going to tell you right now, if the question has to do with alcohol, don't call Ro. I don't drink. I can't help your ass. I can't tell you what the hell is the difference between Tito's and Patron and 1942 or 1492, whatever the hell. I can't help your ass out. Don't call me. There's some folk you know, they love music. Man, they can tell you song, artist, all that. Is some folk, man, don't know nothing. You're not gonna call the person who don't know music and ask they ass a music question. So the Faison and a bunch of y'all, if you got political questions, don't ask somebody your ass know who you know don't know a damn thing about politics. Ask somebody before you do a video and post it on social. Because even if you ain't a celebrity, a bunch of clueless people can take your video and run with it, and now it's all over the country, and you went viral on some bullshit. Like the lying-ass racist in Springfield, Ohio, where a white Nazi went to the city council saying Haitians were eating animals, and guess what? Dumbass MAGA racists took that video and it went all the way up to dumbass Senator J.D. Vance and equally dumbass Donald Trump, and that fool goes on a debate and literally said, they're out here eating people. I need y'all to hear what I just said. One nutcase racist Nazi went before the city council and alleged that Haitian immigrants were eating animals, cats and dogs, and that shit has now gone all the way up to the dumbass running for president of the United States for the Republicans. It's now circulated around the world, and you know the end result is? You have Haitian immigrants who are keeping their kids at home because they're scared for their safety, because now you have fools who are hunting Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, based off of a bullshit lie. That's why you don't just put anything out in the public sphere. Ask first before you hit record. And then if you do hit record, take the video and go to somebody and say, can you look at this for me? What you think? So run it by a few folk before your ass hit send. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm telling you, we have a massive deficit in this country, y'all, when it comes to civics. And I deal with this, Mignon, I deal with this every single day. The number of people who just don't know who the hell does what. They don't know what the FDA regulates. They don't know what the Federal Trade Commission is responsible for. They don't know what it's, and I get it. Not everybody knows everything about politics, but my God, we gotta stop blaming politicians for things that they have no jurisdiction over. And then people go, well, why don't you? Because they don't. And it's an epidemic, Mignon. I'm telling you, it is.
It is indeed an epidemic. And I think that Dr. Carr was correct. People have to have, I was listening to you, I'm thinking to myself, not only is there a dearth of understanding or a lack of education in terms of civics, but I was also thinking about media literacy, because that's the same thing that we're talking about, right? All this information or misinformation, disinformation, BS, whatever it is being disseminated via various media channels, right? And a lot of people now don't know how to ascertain, fact from fiction or reality even anymore. So it becomes more important than ever to have really trusted sources for information when it comes to media in particular, to try to debunk it, because a lot of the media that we see is even, cable TV news, whatever it is spun in a way that is still misleading to the general public, right? So we have to have these trusted sources. Yes, you got to have your phone a friend. You better know who that friend is. But you also need to be able to wade through all of the misinformation, disinformation, lack of education, whatever it is that's being spewed out there, because at some point it becomes overwhelming for the general public. So that's why it becomes more important to have places like the Black Star Network, because people are overwhelmed. I'm not giving them a pass because the onus is upon them. But think about how hard it is to find accurate accurate information these days, right? And so we have to have these trusted sources, and we have to support these trusted sources.
I'm telling you, Greg, Greg, listen, both of y'all are professors, and I'm sure y'all got a woo-saw every day, and y'all hear something that come from a student, and you look at them like, where did you get that from? I saw it on TikTok. It's a whole lot of TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, lawyers, doctors, engineers, and professors.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we'll argue with you, Dr. Guy. You made the point. I tell you, sis, that's it. And bright folks. I had some young people at the beginning of the week. I was speaking to our freshman seminar course. They invited me to come and give a talk, so I did 50 minutes. And later, there were about maybe total that day, a couple of thousand students, did two shifts. And the first one came down and students started asking me about Umar Johnson. And I know Umar for many years, since, he lived in Philly. It's hard not to know Umar. He was in the streets at that time doing what he does, long before the YouTube thing blew up. But when I tell you that it doesn't really matter, there's this huge swell of folk who, to your point, that the guy can't distinguish between, what to trust, what not to trust. Remember the sister you had on this summer from Onyx Impact with all that, the report on disinformation in Black communities.
Yep.
That question, that fire hose of stuff, they can't tell the difference between. And so you have to be patient. You have to be, generous in spirit, understand that these are young people who are well-meaning. But then when you turn around, and we all saw with Shannon Sharp, they had him canceled on social media. ESPN has fired Shannon Sharp. Oh, slow. Where did you read that?
Hold on, right. Perfect example. It was like an NBA Central. Then they tagged ESPN NBA. I saw it. First thing I did is went to ESPN NBA, saw nothing on there, and I'm like, where y'all getting that from? Like right now, all these Republicans, a whistleblower alleges that ABC gave Kamala Harris test questions, and that's how she knew the answers. Man, go sit your ass down.
Come on. There it is. I mean, like you say, like Asosa Osa, who was the principal at Onyx Impact, said this summer to you, when you can't tell what to trust and what not to trust, you have to be able to look to somebody you trust to help you with that. And I agree with you, Doc. Black Star Network, it's more valuable now than at any time because we are entering a phase of political warfare that the species has never seen before. And again, this goes back even to Donald Trump. The idea that somebody like that could even run for president, what Lawrence O'Donnell and them were talking about when they said, what they call it, sane washing. You have normalized people who should never be normalized for the roles they're aspiring to. And that the celebrities have always been key in politics. That's why the Republicans, for example, depended so much on Jack Roosevelt Robinson when the Republican Party was something very different. But after Barry Goldwater got in, Robinson said, I can't go that far with y'all anymore. And then it cost them politically. Well, this isn't 1964. This is 2024, and now you can have everybody from Jermaine Dupri to to Faison Love doing what they're doing, and on a network like this, unlike a lot of people, Roland, you will invite those people into the space and walk them through the era, whether it be Ice Cube or all the way through down to what's his name, Tyrese. You will sit with them, and I think finally what that does is in this firestorm, this blowstorm, this fire hose of misinformation just out there, it does give people a source they can trust, if for no other reason, to come to help you walk through all that stuff. And that's the kind of trust that our people need now more than ever. And again, that's what makes this network so important.
Indeed. All right, folks, that is it for us. Lauren, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Mignon, thank you so very much. And I'm sure you have your Time Life headset next time you come back on.
Just for you.
I forget nothing. Dr. Carr, thanks so much. I appreciate it, Frat.
Appreciate you, bro.
Folks, that is it for us. Tomorrow, we're going to continue our conversation regarding what's happening with Haitians in Springfield. John Legend has actually dropped a video. He's a Springfield, Ohio native. He dropped a video on social media. I have it right here. I was going to play, but I'll save it for tomorrow, where he talks about what's going on there. And we'll also talk to Haitian journalists about that as well. Folks, support the work that we do, y'all. I told y'all already that when we talk about, I told what Cash App has done is driving me crazy in terms of how they are capping the number of transactions. So what we had to do is we had to create two additional accounts. And so let me do this here. So let me show you what those are, so you know, and you're getting it straight from me. These are the only, so the one account that we have is Cash App, $RM Unfiltered, okay? So we have that one, all right? So matter of fact, I'm gonna put both on the screen. Just give me a second. So we have, so there are only 3 that we have, and I hate the fact that I have to give you 3. I prefer, because we've had fraudulent people trying to steal from our users, create these accounts where they are close to our name. So that has happened. So I hate to have to do that, but I'm left with no choice by the folks at Cash App, because what they've done is they've changed their procedures to now they're capping the number of transactions you can have per day, per week, and per month. And that, listen, we don't control how many people actually give on our show. We don't control any of that. So y'all know I sit here and don't play. I consider me talking to y'all and also black people on YouTube. I'm sitting here, so this is what I want y'all to do. I want you to go to, give me 1 second, I'm setting this thing up for you because I want you to support us in what you do, but I don't want you giving to some of these dummy accounts. But we now have to actually, we have 3 accounts because of what Cash App has done, and it's insane. What they've done is just dumb. I don't understand it. It makes just no sense. Like, what are you doing? Why would you even do something like that? Let's see. For some reason, our Roku is not working. Let me come on. Let's see if I can do this. So our Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. Okay, that's our normal Cash App. Okay, you can also support us. So that this isn't working, I'm gonna have to do this a separate way. Okay, so our normal is Cash App $RM Unfiltered, but we also have another one. Let me show y'all what that one is. Hopefully I can get this connected for you. Looks like we cannot, so I'm having some issues connecting. So I want to show you from my iPad this account for some reason. So here's the deal. Cash App $RM Unfiltered. That's our normal one. The other one that we have is Cash App $Uncle UNCLE ROROMARTIN. The other one that we have is $BLK STAR Network, Black Star Network. $BLK STAR NETWORK. Those are the only 3 that we have. Now, if y'all give, here's the crazy thing, they don't even tell us what the hell the cap is. So we don't even know what the number is. So we just look at how many transactions we got that day, then all of a sudden we see the rejections. So it makes no sense. So this here is our normal Cash App right here, $RM Unfiltered, okay? So then we had to create another Cash App. So this is the other Cash App, $Uncle Roro Martin. Then we had to create a third Cash App for Black Star Network, $BLK STAR NETWORK. So you can hold your phone up to the screen and you can literally just put your camera up and then tap it. It takes you right to the account. So I'm gonna do it for you again. So this is Black Star Network, BLK STAR NETWORK. Our Black Star logo is on it. The other one is right here, which is $Uncle Roro Martin. So you can hold your phone up to that if you want to use that one. And the main one that we have, and it's rejecting a lot of your donations, is the one we've always had, $RM Unfiltered. And so that's what that one is, so you can hold your phone to that one. So hopefully Cash App will get rid of this stupid ass new rule, but we can't wait on them because many of you want to support the work that we do, and we appreciate every single dollar. I'm telling you, we don't waste money. We want you to be able to support what we do, and so we got to go to this route. So here are the other ways to give. You can see your check and money order, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Again, PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. That's it, folks. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla! Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
all momentum we have now. We have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?